All right, so factoring, I'm going to say let's do guess and check. And if you do the X method or do one of those other things, that's fine. But what you're always doing is coming up with two numbers that multiply to 6, right, and add the 7. So I'm not going to be writing that down again either, but that's what you're doing, is thinking of two numbers that multiply to 6 and add to 7. And if you need to draw an X and put the 6 and the 1 and wherever the things go and multiply, fine. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm just going to be looking at thinking, how do I set this up so that that's my answer? How can I unmultiply that?
Negative 6 and negative 1.
Well, negative 6 and negative 1 would multiply to positive 6.
No, I'm saying
That's the X.
sorry.
Wait, but those are the X values if this was an equation equal to 0.
Yes.
Is it not equal?
There's not equal to anything.
How are we supposed to factor?
So we're still going to factor. So I still need to think of two things that multiply to 6 and add to 7. 6 and 1. In fact, plus 6 and plus 1. And that's all we're doing today. Now, I get it. The mistake is to go a step too far, which would be to set them equal to 0 and solve for x. And yes, that would be negative 6 and negative 1. And we will do that eventually. But this thing is not equal to 0. So we can't do that right here.
That's all we're doing.
That's all we're doing.
Oh, this is great.
I know. You're like, well, should we do some more? Like, well, not yet. Like, let's work on factoring. So now I need two numbers that add to 8. You guys are too quick. Negative 4 and negative 2.
Wait, is it? Yeah.
How do you check these if you wanted to check these?
Solve them.
I wouldn't say solve them.
You hope.
Hope isn't a good strategy.
You plug them in.
Just multiply them back out. Do what we did as warm-ups.
But wouldn't that not get you the same?
Yes, it will.
Oh, if it's not equal to 0. Right?
Right. Stop throwing equal signs in my problems that don't have equal signs. If you want to check, you can multiply them back out. Not necessary, but that's what you do. If you haven't already, do number 3.
Easy.
This guy's racing ahead of me.
Let's do all of them.
You can do all of them. Eventually, you're going to do all of them. Cole, you've checked with the neighbor. That's okay. Can you factor number 3 for us?
Is it x plus 6 and then x plus 4?
It is, but if you have to ask yourself if that's right, then FOIL it out and make sure that it's right. X squared plus 10x plus 24. So yeah, that's right. We'll do number 5 together in a minute. Let's give Logan a quick second to do number 4 if he hadn't already. Yeah, 5 looks tricky, but let's hold off one step at a time.
I see what Cooper's.
Logan, how about number 4?
Like, what's the answer?
Yep, what's the answer?
X squared or x minus 5 and x plus 2.
Good. Good. Okay, yeah, number 5 is definitely different.
You factor out the negative.
I would factor out the negative first. You could do it without factoring out the negative, but it's kind of a pain to keep up with everything. And so make your life easier and take the negative out to begin with, and then things are a whole lot easier.
And then it just becomes negative 1 x plus 5 x plus 5.
Negative 1, or just negative, x plus 5 and x plus 5. Completely okay answer if you really want to go like next level. What's another way to write x plus 5 times x plus 5? X plus 5 squared. Not necessary, but occasionally it's helpful to see it or write it like that. So, again, you don't have to, but if you see it and want to, completely okay. All right, let's skip ahead now. Let's jump to number 14. Ooh. And I will see people take the time to write it out like that, which is okay, because that puts it in that format of thinking I need two numbers that multiply to negative 9 and add to 0.
I agree.
Now, hopefully you don't have to do this too many times before you realize what's going on, but it's one of those things, if you need a crutch or a middle school method or the box or the X or whatever, like, that's fine, but hopefully you get to the point where you can see this is just X plus 3 and X minus 3. 15's similar, 16, wait a minute.
Can you take out the 3?
Yes.
Take out the 3. Take out the 3, but don't stop there. That would be the mistake that people make on that one. Is like, oh, I factored out the 3. Like, yes, you did, but you are not done yet.
16.
Kennedy, what would be the next step on number 16?
Factor it out again, X minus 3 and X plus 2.
Good.
What's number 10?
Let's see. Did number 8? Let's do number. Oh, I know what we need to look at. You tell me what number looks different next. 18. 18. Okay. Yeah, somebody answer that question. Why does 18 look different?
You're gonna have fractions.
That's sort of the result, but why it looks different is that 3. There is the split the middle term method.
That method takes so long. That
Would you like to do that method, or would you like to guess and check?
Let's guess and check.
What's the
Which one's easier?
Well, that's a good question. Which one is easier? So, split the middle term is a very methodical method. That's kind of repetitive, but very systematic, programmatic, algorithmic. Like, you do the same process every time, and so sometimes, like, that's helpful because you've got a process that you work every time, but it kind of takes a while every time. Guess and check, because it's guess and check, sometimes you hit it right away and you're like, hey, that was an easy one. And other times you're guessing and guessing and guessing, trying to figure out what works. So I can't really say which one's better or faster. It kind of depends on the problem.
Let's guess and check.
I'm going to say let's guess and check. Okay? So to guess and check, I need to know the factors of 3. So, like, what are the potential numbers I could multiply to get 3?
1 and 3.
1 and 3. So here's another reason to guess and check. It's like, well, there's no guessing on that. It's got to be 3 and 1. In fact, it's got to be both of them. It's got to be that set. That's the only way we're going to get to 3. Now I'm going to switch to pencil because what are the factors of 4?
We have 2 and 2 and 1 and 2.
Yeah, in fact, I should word that a little bit differently. Like, what are the pairs? 2 and 2 and 1 and 4. And again, I switched to pencil because now it is a guess and check. What about the signs? Do we know what signs we'll use? Okay, the 8 is negative, and the last term is positive, so they both have to be negative. So I could switch back the pen and put that in there because that's not going to change. So now it's a matter of where does the 1 go or the 4 go, or where do the 2 and the 2 go, and it's a guess and check thing. So maybe you just throw it in, toss in a 1 and a 4, and then to check, like, we already know that the 3 and the 4 are going to work.
Oh, no, that's not going to work.
We're checking the 8.
Aren't going to the 8.
Why is that not going to work?
Not gonna be-
Yeah, that 3 out front, that's going to make negative 13.
Yeah, big number.
That's not what we want. So we could switch the 1 and the 4. Right? That way the 1's across from the 3. Negative 4, negative 3.
It's going to be negative 7.
It's negative 7. Right? Closer, I guess. Let's try 2 and 2.
It needs to be 2 and 2.
It better be 2 and 2 because that's the only choice we have left. Let's see, that's negative 6x and negative 2x. That makes negative 8x. It's maybe feels like so much work because I intentionally guessed the wrong things first. Okay, do you want to see split the middle term, or you just want to keep guessing and checking?
Let's guess.
I think guessing and checking is the way to go, because it's just...
I'm okay with that.
Certainly for the ones we give you, you're usually going to be okay. Why don't you try number 19. Try number 19. Oh, 19 should be a
Very similar.
similar one, but maybe a little easier because there's only one option for the first term and one option for the last term. So it's just a matter of getting the signs in the right spot. And the I guess, who pairs with who.
I got it.
It's got to be 2x and x. It's got to be 1 and 3. It's just a matter of where do we put the 1 and where do we put the 3. And again, you don't really know first time through, so you just pick one. And most people, like when you get better at it, you put it there in your brain, if not writing it down, and see if it works. Did I guess right the first time here? Oh, that's a tricky one. 6 minus 1 is 5, but that's not what I have here.
They're both negatives.
They're both negative, so let's switch those around and put the 1 here and the 3 here. And now I've got negative 2x and negative 3x. That makes negative 5x. Those are the tricky ones. 20 looks similar, but the sign is different, so that's going to mess things up.
Let's do that.
So try 20 and 21.
Figure out.
2x, what did you say?
Yeah, you just
Let's
say
see. And again, the only way, not the only way, but the best way to check them is to multiply them back. Negative 6x plus x is negative 5x. And again, it's that middle term that you're checking. You've forced the first and third term to work. It's the middle term that we're concerned with. Ali, how about number 21? 2x plus 2 and x minus 1. So negative 3x plus 2x makes negative x. So yeah, that's right. Alright, that's the only ones I wanted to get through. You guys are jumping around and trying some. Are there any that you've hit that you're not sure of yet?
let's try 17.
Let's try 17.
I know, but I just wanted to do it.
Ryan, did you try something on 17?
Not yet. I just
Okay.
haven't even tried it.
Well, looking at it, any ideas on what we should do?
Negative A.
Let's factor out a negative a. Don't say get rid of a negative a, because if it was an equal sign, we could divide by it, but there's not an equal sign, so let's factor it out front.
It's going to be minus 49.
And so, yes, minus 49, what's the first term?
A squared.
A squared. A squared, wait a minute, that fits a pattern there, that a squared minus 49.
You can take a square root.
Then you get A minus 7.
Don't say square root. I mean, I know what you're talking about. Let's factor it into a minus 7 and a plus 7.
I like that.
Kind of as a summary statement up here, always, always, always look for a GCF first. Greatest common factor. Because that makes your life a little easier. So that was number 17. It's also some of the ones at the bottom.
23.
23 has a GCF. And a GCF on 23 takes it from what you think of as like a hard factoring problem
The easiest one in the world.
to a pretty easy factoring problem. Yeah. So definitely look for a GCF first. Make that happen. And you don't have to, but it makes life easier if you make the lead term positive.
So much easier.
And if you need to, that means factor out a negative. So that was 17 and
26.
5 and 26. Yep. Like factor out a negative if you need to make the lead term positive, because then your life gets a little bit easier. Okay, I'm hoping the guess and check method will work because your mental math is quick enough to do 6 times 4 and 6 plus 4 and 4 times 4 and all those little bitty mental math problems. That's why we had you memorize your multiplication facts in 3rd grade or 4th grade.
What'd you get for?
Because if you can't do those, factoring is going to be tough.
2x minus 1.
Again, assignment today is the rest of that worksheet.
Thank you.
Hopefully you're getting close to finished.
Well, I'm done. I know.